As a freshman at Hampton, we're put on curfew, which means by 10 o'clock during the week, we have to be back in the dorms, and our curfew is 1 o'clock or 1 a.m. during the weekends. And so, as a freshman, it was really important that every time I went out, I made sure I made it back in time so I wouldn't get put on early curfew, which basically meant you had to check in at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 9 p.m. all the way until 11 p.m. when everybody got checked for curfew. And if you missed one of these check-ins, you had to go see the dean, and she would look over the reason why you got put on early curfew in the first place. And there was a big possibility that you could be out by 5, which meant by 5 p.m. the next day, you had to pack up all your stuff and vacate the premises. That was it for your time at Hampton. And so, as a freshman, I guess I kind of pushed the limits a little bit. This one night, I decided to go out with some guys that I met on campus. During my first weekend at Hampton, they invited us to a party, and me and one of my close friends decided we would go and see what nightlife was like at Hampton. And so they invited us over to their house at first so we can pregame and just play some games and have fun before we actually went to the party. My friend really liked one of the guys, and so she decided to take some shots with them. This was her first time being drunk or drinking, and so it didn't really go very well, but we still decided to go to the party. Once we got there, I realized how intoxicated she really was, and I figured it would be best to probably leave soon. Once I checked the clock, I realized time was also ticking, and by this time it was 12:35. However, once I went to go look for the boys, they were actually nowhere to be found. And so by then, I had realized that they had ditched us. So I called one of my friends that I knew who was a junior that went to Hampton, and we were old friends from high school. I called him crying and just begging him to come and pick me up, and he was ready and willing, but I had no idea where I was. So he asked me to describe all the buildings I saw around me and just describe the area, and that's what I did. And a couple minutes later, he came, and thank goodness he found us. We made it back to campus with literally a couple minutes to spare, and we both had to swipe in our IDs separately to get into the building to let them know that we made it back on time. We literally swiped our IDs maybe around 12:58 and made a mad dash upstairs to make sure we were outside of our rooms when our RA came down the hall to check us for curfew. Thankfully, we made it back with maybe 30 seconds to spare. But although we made it back for curfew, we realized that we couldn't trust everybody that we met on campus.